Comment sent with stars will appear here. I know nobody probably. What's up, everybody? I was getting ready to decorate my table for the Christmas holidays. I don't know. I hope this encourages somebody. There's so much going on in the world today. It's a lot going on. But why I really came on here, and I want to just know your thoughts on it. Did anybody see where the lady was jumped on in Chicago with her and her kids? I was like, oh my God, what is going on in the world today? So I just want to come on and just, you know what I'm saying, just encourage somebody to keep pushing, because that reminded me of when I got on my little thing too to try to slim my waist. Look at it. But I just wanted to come on today to um I'm sorry, to encourage somebody to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to say this, how to start out, just to keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? Don't, get discouraged and in this life, because it's so much going on. How can I put this? Lord Father God, lay the words on my tongue to say, like that of a ready writer. Because I know when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of bullying when I was younger. And when I seen that lady and her kids get jumped on, it just reminded me of back in the day. People think, oh, this just happened. All that bullying and stuff is being, um, let me say slow name. All that bullying and stuff is being going on. People love to bully people. 'Cause I know when I was young, back up in the day, people used to do me that bully, call your names, tease you, fight you. It's crazy. It's so wretched down here. It's real, real wretched. It's real wretched down here. But I just want you to encourage somebody to keep going, to keep pushing, no matter what. Kids, a lot of the kids today, they are having a hard time. Like, what would possess children to jump on the mother? And you know what I'm saying? Like, what is wrong with these kids these days? So, I mean, just be encouraged. I just don't know what to say. I'm like, what's y'all thoughts on it? And I know y'all seen it. I don't come on a live that often, but I remember when I was younger, my mama was on welfare and food stamps. And that's why a lot of times when I come on, I always try to encourage somebody to keep pushing, to keep going, because I grew up like that. You know what I'm saying? My mama had 8 kids and 2 of her kids passed, and some of her kids, I won't mention their name because this video, you know what I'm saying, you don't even want to put, but they didn't grow up with my mom. So when I'm the youngest one, and my other brother and my sister, they was the oldest. So I really got to grow up with my mama when I was young. But that was hard, because we used to live behind a barroom on 46th Street. We lived in a park. My mama lived in an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment. It was me and her. My brother and them, he was older. My sister was older. So I was the youngest of all of them. And a lot of people judge you by how you look, what you got on, where you live at when you were kids. And I try to talk about this story with a lot of joy, but every time I talk about my childhood, because it brings tears to my eyes. But I always try to tell my testimony. I don't tell it that often on live, but every now and then I feel an unction to tell my testimony. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw that, it brought back so many memories. I can remember when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. I was always teased a lot, called names. They judge you for how you look, what you got on, where you lived at. My mama lived behind a barroom. We lived we was connected, like literally connected to the barroom. And I'm not lying. We was like literally connected to the barroom. I'm trying to do this in a lot. Like we was connected to the barroom. We had a barroom across the street, down the street. But it was Al. We took the Al Greens. Dusty's was down the street. Ponderosa. Then they had another club just because we lived on the avenue. And my mom was on welfare and food stamps. I can't ever remember my mom having a job. And I know I'm talking about this, and it gets to me. You know what I'm saying? But I just thank God on I am where I am now. But you know, a lot of times people think, oh, they doing it. They people doing stuff like this. The only thing now is they have social media and people get to see it. I know when I was younger, I was coming up, I didn't look like everybody else. My mom didn't have like a lot of people had. She was on welfare, food stamps. That's all I can remember. She was on welfare and food stamps. And when I came up, I hated my childhood because I was always teased. They used to call me GOAT, GOAT, because my mom used to have my little hair sticking up on the tails. You know, we was a lot of, you know, back in the days, a lot of, you know, us was like natural and stuff. I can't hardly talk about it sometimes because I start crying, but I'm not gonna cry this time. But because I thank God. But I'm gonna show some pictures of me how I used to like see this picture. I hope you can see. Look, this is me when I was a little younger, and you see how my hair looked. I was a natural. I was, you know, natural. So they used to tease me all the time. I used to get bullied. I used to be so scary. But that's me when I was younger. I used to get teased. My mom used to take up for me, and you know, about my other sisters and brothers who was way older than me, and then some of my other sisters and brothers, you know, they grew up with their dad. You know what I'm saying? They didn't grow up with me and my mama. This my mom when she was younger. I'm gonna show some pictures of her. And remember, this me when I was younger. This me when I was younger. You see that natural hair. They used to tease me, call me names. This my mom. Hopefully you can see the pictures. This her right here. That's her. And when I said we used to stay in the SWAT, the ghetto, to me, I hated my childhood. So I'm gonna show you where we lived at. And this is my mom and my nieces and some other people on this picture. I don't know who else that is, but that's when we was younger. Look at the apartment that we stayed in. This was the apartment. Where our apartment at? Right here. That's I had got a little older. But that's my apartment right there. That's our apartment. That's where we lived at. That's the apartment we lived in. I can remember staying in that apartment when I was a little bitty kid, young. Went to elementary school, living in that apartment right there. And as you can see, it's on the corner. That's my brother and them in there. But that's our apartment. Our apartment. And my mom is in the red. Her name was Carrie. Let's look at the apartment. That's how the apartment looked. When I seen that kind of reminded me. And you see, we had one bedroom. So that's my mama and my niece. The bed is on the floor. We had one bedroom before we got a bed. That's how we used to live. And my mom was on welfare and food stamps. I hated my childhood. And I'm showing these pictures quick so y'all can just kind of see how it was. Let's see what else I was going to show. And you know, I can remember some friends. This is my mama too. That's when I got older though. We went and took pictures. That's my mama right there. And that's my niece. That's my mama. This my mama. And that's me when I started growing up. Because I wanted something out of life, but that was a hard time for me. I hated my childhood. That's me when I started growing up. I used to work at Subway. That's on 46th Street. That's my celebrity when after my Ford. I had a Ford too. I'm at the show it. Now this in the apartment, look at the brick wall. That's me when I started growing up too. And I'm showing this so somebody can be encouraged. I was teased so much till I dropped out of high school. I was bullied. I used to get bullied so bad. And I'm going to show you the person that taught me how to fight. I hope my live is on. Let's see. Okay. Look at me. That's when I started growing up. That's me too. Now this is the apartments. This the corner I lived on. That's where we lived at. That's me and sister. She might see that. That's me kneeling. That's me right there. And that's her. That's my car. This me. It's me hanging out in the club. That's me. Now this is my Ford I had. That's my first car I ever had. Right there. And that's me and Edith fixing on the car. I used to have a Jerry curl. Y'all remember the curls? The curl made my hair grow. That's me right there. I didn't know my work. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know my work because nobody never my mama, she did her best. And that's why I'm always laughing and joking, because when I turned 18, I got on my little belt thing too, if it seemed like I'm sitting up. When I turned 18, I had to start taking care of my mama. So I didn't really have a childhood. I was going to sink or swim. But when I was a child, I was bullied a lot. A lot. I used to be scared to go to school sometimes. Sometimes people would try to fight my mama or try to help. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one time my mama got jumped on just like that. And people thought it was funny. But I was so scared that I didn't help. You know what I'm saying? I was just like that little boy. I was trying to help her. I was trying to guard her, but I couldn't. You know what I'm saying? And my mom was jumped on when I was little, coming up like that. When I say that reminded me of me and my childhood and why I pushed so hard. People might be like, well, why she come on here with all this such and such and she saying go? Because that's how I made it through. Laughter is good for the soul. And people wouldn't want you to hang around their kids. And it's so sad that you live in a community around your own color and people treat you like that. Just like those kids bullied that mama and her son. When I say that flashed me back, it took me on a flashback because people used to do me that. And my mom used to call me baby girl. Certain people wanted you to hang around their kids and certain people didn't. So whoever accepted me, that's who I hung around. I know about the spirit of rejection. And I dealt with that a lot. But if you don't push and want something out of life, ain't nobody coming to save you. Nobody came and saved us. Nobody came and brought us up out of that. We was in the SWAT behind a club. They used to be like, oh, go look in their house this, their house that. When I tell you that was me and my mom, that was us. I fought so hard to come out of that life. That's why I'm always encouraging somebody. I'm always trying to push somebody. I'm always trying to say something uplifting. I'm always trying to help somebody else. When I used to come up, I always try to help other people. You know what I'm saying? Look at me. Now, this me right here in the blue shorts. That's me right there. And that's some of the kids. But that's me in the blue shorts right there. Look at my hair. And some people, and it was, and I'm coming on here to talk about Christians because it's to the point where people talk about Christians so bad now. And it's like they're trying to erase God. But don't let nobody decide who God is or what God is in your life. Because if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have made it out. It was the main people. And it's so sad to say that some of the stuff they saying is a lot of truth to it. But your trust is not in a man. God will not share his glory with nobody. That's why when you hear people coming on, you hear them talking about what God did. If you go to church and you get caught up in man is not your God. God is your God. And I learned that even before. I got in church. I dropped the picture. Wait a minute. You know, when I was little, it was certain people that they didn't want their kids to hang around me. Not that I was a good child or a nice child, but it was because where I lived at or who my mom was. They treated my mama like that. So my mama didn't fool with a lot of people. She didn't go to a lot of people's houses. She stayed to herself, you know, because she was from the country. So that's where she lived at. Nobody came to save us. Nobody came and pulled us up out of that. I hated my childhood. I literally I didn't hate my mom, but I hated my childhood because I was bullied so much. I'm being vulnerable, I'm telling my testimony. I hated my childhood because I was bullied so much, like bad. I used to get jumped on. I used to get teased, bullied, bad. When I said that reminded me of my childhood growing up, you seen where I lived at. I showed you already where I lived at. Keep in mind, this how I grew up. That's my mama right there. You see the bed on the floor. This the apartment that we lived in. This me. They used to tease me, talk about my hair, talk about my clothes. Keep in mind, that's where I lived at. That's where I grew up at, in the park. I ain't gonna be on here long, but I'm making a point of being vulnerable. Nobody never told me that I can make something out of myself. Nobody never told me that you can do this, you can do that. But I sure was teased a lot. I sure was rejected a lot. I sure was picked on a lot. I was made to feel like I was nothing. When I seen that, I say I know that spirit right there. That's a spirit of rejection. That's what that is when people try to think that you make you feel like they better than you. You know what I'm saying? This my mama too. That's in the back of the apartments where we lived at. We was hooked onto a club called Al Green's. We was hooked onto a club. I told you I dropped out of school. What the other picture I was looking for? But before I dropped out of school, when I was in middle school, I remember this girl wanted to fight me. Her name was Responsa Cox. I was so scared. I was so scared of her. I'm looking for another picture that I had. I was so scared of that girl till it wasn't funny. But you see this lady right here, her name Cynthia Woods. That's what the first like real friend I had when I was growing up. And they used to call her Kamala because she didn't care about who she fight. You know, people be like, "Oh, what's wrong with the kid?" A lot of this stuff went on back in the day when we was younger, but they just couldn't film it. She see her right here. I told her, I say they have a girl that want to fight me, and she say I'm gonna come up there, and she saying you better fight back. If you don't fight back, I'm gonna get you. See her right here. She taught me how to fight. Cynthia Woods taught me how to fight, and I always talk about it. She taught me how to fight. And once I learned how to fight, that's when I started just like standing up for myself. I wanted somebody life. I went to school. I dropped out in high school, but I ended up going back and getting my GED. My mama pushed me. She was like, "You need to go back and get your GED." This me going back to school, and I got my GED. And my GED actually had ballet on there. I'm just telling a little bit of my testimony. That's me right there, right here. Hey, Sister Sheila, this me right here. I went back, I got my GED. But that story reminded me of when I was younger. Amen. I went back, I got my GED. I wanted something out of life. I pushed so hard. But if you don't push, ain't nobody coming to save you. If you don't get up and do nothing for yourself, ain't nobody coming to save you. Because nobody came to save us. Amen. Ain't nobody came to save me and my mama. You know, I had to push so hard. I hated my childhood. I hated that my mama was on welfare and food stamps, but I loved my mama. But I hated where we lived at. I hated our childhood. When I seen that lady in Chicago got jumped on, I say, Lord, they remind me of me. It triggered something in me. Don't let nobody make you feel like you are not nothing. Don't sit and wait on a man, because ain't nobody coming to save you. When we get in church, it's not about man, it's about God. You have to stay focused. So, a lot of people ain't want their kids hanging around me because, oh, we the people on the corner. We these people right here. This my mama. We these people right here. Them the people that stay on the corner, on the behind. This where we lived at. So they ain't want their kids to hang around us because we wasn't good enough to hang around. We wasn't good enough. That's where we lived at. That's where I lived at. This concrete. We had one bedroom. So guess what? They didn't want their kids to hang around me because I wasn't good enough for their kids to hang around. So I hung around whoever accepted me. That's who I hung around. So the crowd that I hung around, you know what I'm saying? I learned different stuff. That's how I learned how to smoke weed, smoke cigarettes, drink, and going to the club. That's what I learned to do. That's who accepted me. That's who I hung around. And a lot of times I hung out with, people like that. They accepted me. And guess what? Them was the best people, because guess what? I learned so much, but I still wanted something out of life. So when I turned 18, I didn't have a childhood. So when I turned 18, I had to start taking care of my mom because she was on welfare and food stamps. So that's why I fought so hard. Y'all, baby, don't worry about what nobody say. I don't care what nobody say about me, what they didn't say I did. I fought hard to come out of that life. I saw weed. I done been to jail. I used to smoke so much weed, drink so much alcohol, because that helped me. That life was hard. That was a hard life. And I used to work at Subway. I worked at Subway for a long time. That was a hard life. And the people that hung around me, like this girl, Rhonda, she used to hang with me. She used to let me come to her house. Deidre Bell. See Deidre Bell? Deidre Bell taught me a lot. Deidre Bell taught me how to, Cynthia taught me how to fight. That's what made me start standing up for myself. That's why I had to get like that. I became a gangster. I don't look like I was like that, but I was like that. Deidre Bell. Deidre Bell taught me how to dress. Her grandmother used to love me. It wasn't that I wasn't a nice child, but because we lived in the park behind that club, they didn't want their kids to hang with me. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough for my own people. So I experienced that spirit of rejection. I used to hang with Karen. Me and Karen was tight. But see, Corey right here, Corey was gay. That's being going on. Corey was like my brother. Corey used to look out for me. Him, Deidre, Linda, Rhonda, Edith, people like that. Cynthia, her family, they looked out for me. But guess what? I still had to push myself to come up out of that place that I was in, because ain't nobody came to save me. Nobody is coming to save you. I used to get jumped on. I used to get teased. I used to get talked about. That's why I dropped out of school, but I went back and got my GED. And people might say, well, why she come on here? She act like this. She say it's the joy of the Lord. Don't let nobody steal your joy. Laughter is good for the soul. Fight for your life. Don't wait on nobody to come and save you. So when I started growing up, my life and stuff started changing. That's me right there. I worked hard, but that wasn't enough. I started trying to sell weed. I used to have a line wrapped around the corner selling weed, just trying to get my mama out that park. I told my mama, I said, Mama, when I started working and I grow up, because my mom used to wash clothes on her hand. We used to walk to the washing machine. That was hard. That was hard. That was a hard life. That was hard. I said, when I grow up, I'm going to take care of you. And people wonder, well, how she get to be so blessed? Know how I get to be so blessed the way I am right now? It's because I looked out for my mama when I came up. I didn't leave her. John is the first man. I had boyfriends. I might have spent the night, but I never left my mama. I never left her. John is the first man I ever lived with. I lived with my mama till she left here. So I met this lady named Miss Ida when I worked at Subway. I done worked at Burger King, Subway, Taco Bell, but Subway was my longest job. This me right here. Working at Subway, coming home in Subway. When I worked at Subway, I met this lady named, I'm all over the place, y'all, kitchen. When I worked at Subway, I met this lady named Miss Ida. And look at me right here. Look at me and sister. That's my celebrity. I think this was Karen Carr. Look at me. And when I say I used to smoke weed, look at me in the club. That's me. My lips used to be so black. That's me in the club. I didn't know my worth. Nobody never told me I was worthy of anything. Nobody never talked to me like that. So I didn't know that I was worthy of certain things. And I'm showing different pictures. But you see that smile look on my face? Look at that smile. I still smile like that when I'm doing stuff. See that smile? God has always looked out for me and taken care of me. But I told my mom, I said, Mama, when I grow up, this my mama too, when she started, when we lived on Clayton. I say, Mom, when I grow up, this her right here, this on text. I say, Mama, when I grow up, I'm going to help you. I'm going to look out for you. But guess what? Our mamas back in the day, baby, used to cuss us out, call us bees and everything else, whoop our tail, baby. I remember I was younger, and me and Sister Cynthia used to be young, going, riding the bikes all over, going, play in the creek, and somebody would come back and tell your mama, I seen baby girl, and that Cynthia over there riding that bike way off or whatever. You gonna get your tail whooped. Baby, we used to be running around the thing. But anyway, Sister Cynthia taught me how to fight. So when I started getting older and I was working at Subway, I met this lady named Miss Ida. I sold weed. I used to drink so much. Kavasi was my main thing. When I learned how to fight, that was it. But nobody finna mess over me or my mom or anybody that I was wrong, because I'm going to stand up. It's like something just clicked once I learned how to fight. So I met this lady named Miss Ida when I was working at Subway. And she started talking to me about God. I wasn't even in church. And she taught me how to return tithes and offerings, nothing else. And I used to go drop my tithes off at this church on Denham Street behind McDonald's. Miss Ida taught me how to rebuke the devil. She taught me how to pray. She taught me so many things. So when I started doing that, I was on probation for 5 years. I never stopped smoking weed. I used to get in trouble. That's how I coped. That's how I grew up. I grew up poor. My mom was on welfare, food stamps. I was that chick that got bullied. The spirit of rejection. And I still experience that. The enemy always try to use old things to make you feel like you ain't nothing, or try to make you feel you rejected. But it's just an illusion, because God loves all of us. He say, "Whosoever will," He give us free will. We try to make it seem like, the people, like it's people, but you got to get your mind off of people, and you got to get your mind on God. And you have to learn how to read that word. You have to learn how to read anything for yourself. But Miss Otter taught me about tithes and offerings. And when she taught me that and I started just doing it, I used to go put my tithes. And I went to church with her sometime, but I was still in the world. That's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? So I started doing that. And when I started returning my tithes and offerings, it broke so many generational curses off my life. It broke it. So I was in Subway one day, and I never forget this lady. Her name was Miss K. And I used to pray, and I used to tell God, I say, God, I don't want to sell weed. I don't want to live my life like this. And I think that's the thing that got me in trouble when I said that. Somebody read it on us, read it on me, really. I told God, I said, God, when I grow up, I don't want to be on welfare and food stamps. I want something out of life. So I can remember just as clear as day, I was at one of my friends' house, Sharon Green. I used to hang with Sharon Green too. And we was outside barbecuing. That's when they had the beepers. They ain't had no phone. Everybody remember the beepers? I got a beep with 911. I would tell my mom, I say, Mama, if anything ever happened, call me. You know what I'm saying? That was my ride or die. Even though your parents will cuss you out back in the day, that was my ride or die. I used to look, when I say I literally took care of my mother and the best way I can, the best way I knew how, because I didn't know the best way I knew how, that's what I did. So something told me I ain't getting no beep or nothing. People like, God don't talk to sinners. That's a lie. Who, if he don't talk to the sinners, who he gonna talk to? You have to learn God's voice. Some say, get up and go home. I got up. I was like, what is that? Sharon was like, what's wrong? I said, I gotta go home. I got up and I had that food. And it was like, keep going, keep going. Some say, do not keep going. Your mama's in the house, do not keep going. So somebody had read it, and y'all remember Wolf or whatever his name was. They used to go around and bust people for selling, doing this or doing that. When I tell people my testimony, they be like, you don't look like that. That was my life. A gangster life, a poverty life. Didn't know how I was gonna make, and ain't nobody came and save me. I stopped. They took me to jail. God had somebody come and get me out. My mama did not rat on me. She didn't say a word. And my niece was telling her, Mama, baby girl said, if anything ever happened, tell them who it's for. They took all my money. I had saved up for me us to move, but God didn't want me to move like that. My mama didn't say one word. One word. She did not rat on me. So I stopped. I went to jail, but I got out, but I still was on probation for like 5 years. But anyway, when Miss Otter taught me about tithes and offerings, I started doing that. And when I started doing my tithes and my offering, it started breaking generational curses off of my life. So they had this lady named Miss K. She came in Subway. She was like, you looking for a house? Because I never had stayed in an apartment. I didn't know nothing about nothing. But for some reason, I had good credit because I used to, if I go and, like, God would just, if I go and borrow some money, if I go and do something, I'm going to pay my bills the best way I know how. Sometimes I used to work 2 jobs because my mom ain't had no job. And I ain't know nothing, but I learned God was with me. I'm just telling a piece of my testimony, baby. But anyway, she said, you looking for a house? I was like, no, I don't know nothing about no house. She was like, something told me to come in here. She said, I'm going to help you find you a house. That's how I ended up with that house on Clayton. Some people was like, oh, no, my mom was on welfare and food stamp. How she going to buy a house? With what? Verna, God allowed Verna to do that. God broke generational curses off of Verna's life. So before I even got in the church, before I even knew about anything like that, I knew about tithes and offerings because it began to break generational curses off my life. And it's not about men, it's about God. We are the church, that's the truth, but God give us a building so we could come together in fellowship. You know what I'm saying? So my mama had never had her own room. When I got a car, I used to take my mama to the grocery store. Before we moved out the park, I got that Ford. I used to start taking her to the grocery store. Mom used to make you shame. Sometimes I stay in the car when she going to the store. Cause she'll go off on you, baby. And I think that's where I get that from. I used to go off on people in a minute. So I started taking her to the store, to the washing mat, shopping spree, anywhere she wanted to go. And she ain't hardly want to ride with nobody else but me. I took care of that woman. I started buying my mama furniture. I took care of my mama. Literally. I had her spoiled, but she'll cuss you out, but I had her spoiled. I started taking her to the washing mat, taking her to the grocery store. And anybody that know me, they know I ain't lying. And they used to have this man stay across the street from us when we stayed in the park on because sometimes I used to walk to work. Before I had a car, I used to walk from 46th Street all the way to Foster Drive, where that Burger King at on Florida Street. I used to walk to work every day. They helped me got a job when I got my GED. I graduated, but I got Bel Air name on my diploma because they gave you the real diploma back in the day. I don't know how they do it now. I used to walk to work, and they used to have this man. It was like, when you get older, God is going to bless you because you really look out for your mom. And that stuck with me. But anyway, when she came in there, that lady helped me get a house. My mom was able, before she left here, she experienced having her own house, even though she was nervous. I was like, I had to convince her to move. I said, Mom, we're going to have to move. I'm going to leave here because we got to get out this neighborhood, out this park, off this corner behind the bar when people used to be getting up in the window, looking in there. We was hooked to the barroom. We stayed right. We was connected to the barroom. Our apartment was connected to the barroom. We was across the street from the barroom. We was connected to Air Greens, stayed across the street from Ponderostas, Dusty's, down the street from. They would used to be shooting. We used to be diving on the floor. It was a mess. So you could imagine how it was growing up there. So my mama had never had her own house, her own room. But the point of it is, she got to experience that. But it was nobody but God that helped me out. Nobody came to save me. Nobody did that for me. If I didn't want something out of life, if I didn't know how to pray as a sinner and ask God to help me, what would have happened to me? What would have happened to me? I could have been dead, on drugs, still drinking, still an alcoholic. But God is real. And they had this guy that I was gonna marry. She's like, Verna, that is not your husband. I say, well, how am I know? She was like, write it down. You might not get everything you want. John is what I wrote. He was the opposite of me. He is and to December coming up, me and John gonna be together 27 years. When I say God broke them generational curses, he broke generational curses. Me and John will be married 27 years. Have we had ups and downs? Yes, indeed. We done had our ups, our downs, our backs, our forth, but we still here. We still together. In April, we're gonna be married 26 years. I never had children. Joni is my daughter, but I didn't birth her. I don't know what it's like to birth a child, but I know what it's like to look out for somebody. I don't care what nobody say. I used to pray over Joni, sow seeds over her life. Look out. It's a lot of people I done looked out for from my heart before I even got in church. I used to that's just the type of heart God gave me. And people would say, well, how is this person gonna do this? Because when you gotta watch how you treat people, if you go around treating people any kind of way, you got to remember you're going to grow up. I don't care how they lie, what they say, the truth going to stand out. Me and my husband been married 26 years. In April, we'll be married 26 years. In December coming up, we'll be together 27. So now we in our second home, and the only reason why I moved out of Clayton, because I can't stand being around. When I grew up around it, and I was traumatized by a lot of that stuff. I was traumatized by how people treated me. I was traumatized by getting bullied, getting jumped on, the rejection. I was traumatized by the spirit of rejection. God had to deliver me from that spirit because it traumatized me as a child. So God is real. When I say God delivers you and heals you, heal a broken heart. But before I think my mama might have stayed in the house like 3 years. My mom was so hard headed because she was a diabetic. She wanted to eat what she want, when she want to eat it. She was hard headed. So when my mama passed, I think she might have lived in that house like 4 years with me, 4 or 5 years. She lived with me, and then she passed. That rocked my world. That's what made me start going to church. I couldn't make it without her. I was so angry, but I knew God was with me. But it was hard at the same time because she was hard headed. I was trying to take care of her. God was just with me my whole entire life. He had angels watching over me. And I know this video might be kind of long. He had angels watching over me. I know God was watching over me. This me when my mama passed. That's my sister on my daddy's side. But that's me in the middle. I lost so much weight. That's me in the middle when she passed. This us when we was on Clayton. We stayed on Clayton for over a little bit over 20 years because we've been here 7 years, me and John. So when I met John, I was already on Clayton. But this one, my mama passed. That rocked my world. That's what made me want to give my life, because I had just wanted to give up on life, but I could still tell God was with me. And God, people like, you never get over grief. God can heal your broken heart. If God heal baby girl, God delivered me from smoking weed, smoking cigarettes, drinking out the club. I will cuss you out, baby, in 10 different ways when I learned how to fight. I will be ready to fight. I never told it a gun, but I used to keep something on me, ready to fight. I don't look like it. I don't look like what I've been through. Why? Because it's God that brought me out. When my mama passed, that rocked my world. I ain't never thought I was going to get over that. I lost so much weight. So much weight. And it was like, oh, she on this. No, my mama done died. She all I knew. She all I ever lived with. But God healed me. God healed me. God gave me Deacon John. Deacon John is the opposite of me. Have we had our ups and downs? Yes, indeed. And the whole thing is about this video. People forget when they was younger and the things they did. Watch how you treat people. Watch how you treat your parents. I don't care what nobody say. I don't have kids. So anything I did for anybody, it was from the kindness of my heart. I don't know what it's like to have a child. I know what it's like to raise a child, but I don't know what it's like to have my very own child. I never know what that's like. So if I was such a bad person, well, why God still got his hands on me? If I did something, it was because of the things that I went through, and I know what it's like. I know what it's like to see your parent get jumped on and you scary and you don't know what to do. But when I learned how to fight, I bet you nobody wasn't gonna jump on her then. Because guess what? Baby girl coming for you. You ain't gonna jump on her then. When I learned how to fight and I learned how to stand up for myself, because with nobody coming, oh, I started standing up for myself. I had to, or them demons was gonna kill me. So I had to learn how to fight. I had to say, I don't care if nobody don't want to hang around me. I want something out of life. And I worked hard. Nobody ain't came and save me. Nobody ain't came and say you can do this, and this. Nobody came and told me that. Nobody came and say, oh, you could buy. I ain't know nothing about buying no house. I ain't know nothing about being married. But I was praying to God, asking him to help me, not man, God. Because, baby, we was left out there to die. But God. And that's why God say, when he choose you for a certain thing or a certain leadership part to be of your life, it's because of what you went through. I spoke over my life. My life is a prophecy. You see it? I just showed it to you. So when I did start becoming into who I was in different parts of my life, I didn't know I looked a certain way. I didn't think I looked this good because people tried to always hold me to this, or they always try to hold me to this. The girl, back in the day, they always try to hold me to that girl, to my younger self, that spirit of Jack, but it was nothing but the enemy. It's just, it was, or this. That's me right there. They try to hold you to that. Did I show y'all Corey? This is my best friend. Corey used to look out for me. But that's what they try to hold me to. They try to hold me to their lifestyle. Look at me. This John. This me and Nene. It's me and John. I didn't think I looked this good. Nobody never told me how beautiful I was. Or you look good. But old gangway, they gonna tell you can. That's why I don't care what nobody say about me. I'm gonna have confidence. If I want to lose weight, I'm gonna lose weight. If I'm not, because guess what? Nobody told me, oh, you look good. They never told me, oh, you know what I'm saying? So when I got saved, I went back for people. Look at all us on here. Look at Sister Cynthia. I went back. I ain't just leave. Nobody never told me I looked at good like that. Nobody never told, look how good I look. Maybe I looks good. But guess what? Nobody never told me. That's me. When I was little, nobody never told me when I lost it. They was like, oh, she on such and such. Just look at me. And I go back and I look at my pictures. I was like, I look good. But you think anybody really talk? No, because the enemy want to keep you feeling like you reject, like you spirit, like you reject. It's the enemy. We be trying to fight each other. It's the real person that needs to be talking is Satan. Satan himself. So now we in our second home. But when I met Miss Trisha, and they be trying to make, oh, it's a black thing, it's a white thing, it's the police, it's the enemy. Satan is the accuser of the brethren. When I met Miss Trisha is a Caucasian realtor, and I had other realtors before her when we was trying to sell, because you got to remember the enemy don't want you to get what God got for you. And I told Miss Trish, she probably